My name is Victoria. I did not plan this life. I wanted love. I wanted a home. I thought I had both. But I was wrong. My story started when I met James. He had a big smile and soft words. He made me feel special. I was only 20. I lived with my aunt and worked at a small cafe. James came in often. He liked my smile. He asked me to sit with him after work. I said yes. He was kind at first. He brought me food. He made me laugh. He told me I was beautiful. I never had a boyfriend before. I believed everything he said. I thought he loved me. After 3 months, he asked me to move in with him. I felt happy. I thought, this is love. I packed my clothes and left my aunt's house. I wanted to start a new life. James lived in a small room in the city. It was not big, but I did not care. I cooked for him, I cleaned, I waited for him to come home. But he started coming home late. Sometimes he didn't come home at all. I asked him where he went. He said, "Don't ask so many questions." His voice was cold. I felt afraid, but I stayed. I told myself maybe he was tired. Maybe things would get better. Then one day, I felt sick. I was dizzy and weak. I went to the clinic alone. The doctor smiled and said, "You are going to have a baby." I was in shock. My hands shook. I did not know what to say. I walked home slowly. I waited for James to come. That night he came late. He was angry about something. I tried to speak, but he shouted. I cried. Then I said, "James, I'm pregnant." He froze. He looked at me and laughed. "Not my problem," he said. He took his bag and left. He never came back. I sat on the floor. I cried for hours. I had no money. I had no family. I had no home. I touched my stomach. I whispered, "I will take care of you." I knew I had to be strong. I looked for a place to live. A kind woman at the clinic told me about a small room above a grocery shop. It was old and cold, but it was cheap. I moved in. I looked for work. I could not do heavy jobs. My belly was growing. People said no to me. I went to every shop on the street. One small cleaning place said yes. The owner was an old woman. She gave me light work. I cleaned tables, washed windows, and helped with small things. She paid me just enough for food and rent. I was tired every day. My back hurt. My legs hurt. But I smiled when I touched my stomach. I said, "You will be safe. I promise." In the winter, it was very cold. The room had no heat. I wore 2 sweaters and 3 socks. I ate bread and tea. Some nights I cried in bed. I was scared. But I talked to my baby. I told him stories. I told him about the sun, the sky, and the sea. I wanted him to feel loved before he even came. Then, one early morning, I felt a strong pain. I fell to the floor. I could not move. I called for help. The shop owner heard me. She took me to the hospital. I held my belly and prayed. "Please be okay," I whispered. After hours of pain, I heard a cry. A nurse said, "It's a boy." I saw his face. He was small and red. He looked at me. I cried. "Shawn," I said. "Your name is Shawn." The hospital let me stay for 2 days. Then they told me to go. I walked home with Shawn in my arms. The cold wind hit my face. I used my scarf to cover him. I held him close. I was scared but proud. I was a mother now. I had to be strong. Before we continue with the story, I'd love to hear from you. Which part of the world are you listening from today? Leave a comment below. And if this story touched your heart, please subscribe for more simple and emotional English stories. At home, I put him on a small blanket. I did not have a baby bed. I used a box with soft towels. He slept a lot. I sat beside him and watched him breathe. I smiled. He was perfect. I wanted to give him the world, but life was hard. I had no money for baby things. I used old cloths as diapers. I warmed milk on a small stove. Some days, I did not eat so he could eat. I lost weight. I felt weak. But I never let Shawn cry alone. I held him. I sang to him. I told him, "You are not alone." The old woman at the cleaning place let me come back. She said, "Bring the baby. I will help." I carried Shawn in a sling on my back. I worked slowly. She gave me small jobs. She even bought him some clothes. I cried when she gave me the bag. "Thank you," I said. She smiled and said, "You are a brave mother." Weeks passed. Shawn grew fast. He smiled a lot. He liked to touch my face. He laughed when I kissed his feet. I forgot my pain when I looked at him. I did not think about James. I did not wait for him. I had Shawn now. That was enough. But one day, something happened. I saw James on the street. He was with another woman. He did not see me. I felt cold inside. My hands shook. I held Shawn close. I walked fast. I did not want James to see him. I did not want him to say anything. He left us. He did not deserve to know this child. Shawn was mine. Only mine. That night, I cried. I did not cry for James. I cried for all the nights I spent alone, for all the pain I felt. But then I looked at Shawn. He was asleep. His small hands were open. His breath was soft. I touched his head. I said, "I don't need anyone else. I have you. I will always be here." And I meant it. Shawn was now 3 months old. He smiled when I sang to him. He looked into my eyes when I spoke. His hands were small, but they held my heart. I forgot how tired I was when he laughed. Every day was hard, but every day was full of love. I still worked at the cleaning place. I worked 4 hours each day. The rest of the time, I stayed with Shawn. I washed clothes by hand. I cooked simple food. I cleaned our small room. When Shawn cried, I rocked him in my arms. I sang soft songs. I kissed his head. Some days were good. Some days were not. One day, Shawn had a fever. His body was hot. He cried all night. I was scared. I held him close. I did not sleep. I walked in circles. I whispered, "Please get better." I had no car. I had no money for a doctor. I only had one thing, hope. The next morning, I went to the shop owner. I told her about the fever. She gave me some money. She said, "Take him to the clinic." I thanked her with tears in my eyes. I ran to the clinic. The doctor gave Shawn medicine. He said, "He will be fine." I cried again, but this time with relief. At home, I sat beside his box bed. I watched him sleep. He looked peaceful. I touched his hand. I said, "I will always protect you." That night, I wrote his name on a paper and put it on the wall. I wanted to see it every day. I wanted to remember my promise. The days passed. Shawn's health got better. He learned to move his legs. He smiled more. He liked when I clapped my hands. I had no toys, so I made one with cloth and buttons. He played with it every day. He laughed when it made noise. That laugh gave me power. One evening, I sat with him in my arms. The wind blew outside. The room was cold. I looked around and thought, is this enough? I wanted more for him. I wanted him to live in a warm home. I wanted him to go to school. I wanted him to feel safe always. I knew I had to do more. I asked the old woman at the shop if she knew other jobs. She said, "There is a family that needs a part-time cleaner." I walked to their house. It was big. The floor was shiny. The lady opened the door. She looked rich. Her eyes went to Shawn. She asked, "Is that your baby?" I said yes. She paused, then said, "Okay, you can work for 2 hours each day, but leave the baby at home." I looked at Shawn. I could not leave him. He was too small. I shook my head. "I'm sorry," I said. "I can't leave him alone." The lady closed the door. I walked home with tears in my eyes. I felt weak, but I knew I did the right thing. Weeks later, the shop lady gave me some extra hours. She said, "I trust you. You work hard." I thanked her again and again. The extra money helped. I bought warm clothes for Shawn. I bought a soft blanket. I also bought some baby food. That night I cried again, but this time I cried because I was proud. One Sunday I took Shawn for a walk. The sun was out. The air was fresh. I showed him the trees and birds. He looked around with big eyes. I smiled. A woman at the park saw us. She had a baby too. She came to me and said, "Your son is cute." I smiled and said thank you. We sat on a bench and talked. Her name was Grace. She lived nearby. She was also a single mother. Her son was 1 year old. She said, "It's hard, isn't it?" I nodded. "Yes, but we do it for them." She smiled. That day, I felt less alone. We met again the next week. Our babies played on a blanket. We talked about food, sleep, and love. Grace became my friend. One evening, I was feeding Shawn when I heard a knock. It was James. I opened the door and froze. He looked at Shawn, then at me. "Is that my son?" he asked. I did not answer. My hands were shaking. Shawn looked at the man, then looked at me. He was too young to understand. James stepped inside. "I want to talk," he said. I stayed quiet. He sat down. He looked around the room. He said, "I made a mistake." I crossed my arms. I said, "You left. You didn't care. Why now?" He looked down. "I'm sorry, Victoria. I didn't know what to do. I was scared." I shook my head. Scared? I was scared too, but I stayed. I did everything for him. Where were you? He looked at Shawn again. "He looks like me." I stepped between them. "Don't say that. You don't know him. You don't get to say that." James was quiet. Then he said, "Can I help now?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to say no, but I said, "What do you want?" He said, "I want to be part of his life." I looked at Shawn. He was playing with his toy. He looked happy, safe. I looked back at James. "You can't come and go as you like. If you want to help, prove it." He nodded. "I will." After he left, I sat on the floor. My heart was heavy. I didn't know if I could trust him. I didn't want Shawn to be hurt. I whispered to my son, "I'm still your mother. I will never leave you." That night, I didn't sleep well. I thought about James. I thought about the past. I thought about the future. I didn't know what was right, but I knew one thing. I would always choose Shawn. I would always do what was best for him. James started coming once a week. He brought small things, diapers, baby soap, a toy. At first I said nothing. I just watched. Shawn did not know him. He did not smile at him. He only wanted me. I was glad. One day, James brought a box of baby food. He said, "I got this from work." I asked, "Where do you work now?" He said he had a job at a car repair shop. I said, "Good, keep it. Don't run again." He nodded. James sat on the floor and watched Shawn play. He smiled and said, "He's smart." I said, "He is." That day, James did not try to hold him. He just looked from a distance. I think he understood. He had to earn this slowly. Grace came over in the evening. She brought her son Liam. The boys sat on a blanket and played. I told her about James. She looked worried. "Do you trust him?" she asked. I said, "No, but I'll wait and see." Grace said, "Don't let him break you again." I nodded. The next few weeks were quiet. James kept coming. He brought things. He never asked to hold Shawn. He just talked to him from across the room. Shawn still didn't show much interest. He only looked for me. I fed him, bathed him, sang to him. I was his safe place. Then one day James asked, "Can I take him to the park?" I froze. I looked at Shawn. He was just learning to stand. He needed soft hands. I said, "Not yet. Maybe one day, but not now." James looked sad, but he said okay. After he left, I held Shawn. I whispered, "I will not let anyone hurt you. I promise." Money was still tight. I worked 5 days a week. I cleaned floors and windows. I washed clothes. I walked with Shawn on my back. I was tired all the time. Some days I wanted to cry, but I didn't. I smiled for him. I had to be strong. Grace helped when she could. Sometimes she watched Shawn for an hour. I used that time to shop, clean, or just sit in silence. That silence helped me breathe. One day, she brought baby shoes for Shawn. "They were Liam's," she said. I smiled. "Thank you." Her help felt like light in a dark room. Winter came again. Cold wind filled the air. I wrapped Shawn in 2 blankets. I wore the same old coat. My fingers were always cold. But I didn't complain. I made soup with potatoes and onions. I warmed our room with a small heater the shop lady gave me. One morning, I woke up to coughing. Shawn's face was red. He cried and held his chest. I rushed to the clinic. The doctor checked him and said, "It's a chest cold. He needs rest and warm drinks." I held him close and said, "You'll be okay, baby." James came that afternoon. I told him about the cold. He looked at Shawn and said, "I can get him medicine." I said, "The clinic gave some, but thank you." He stood there for a minute. Then he said, "You're a good mother." I didn't know how to answer. That night I sat beside Shawn's box bed. He coughed in his sleep. I stayed awake. I touched his hand. I said, "You're safe. I'm here." In that moment, I felt both strong and small. The world outside was cold, but my love for him was warm. A few days later, something happened. The shop owner called me in. She looked serious. "I'm sorry, Victoria. My daughter is taking over now. She wants new staff. I can't keep you." I felt the ground shake. I had no other job, no savings. I smiled weakly and said, "Thank you for everything." I walked home slowly. Shawn was on my back. I didn't cry, not yet. At home, I put him down and looked at the wall. The paper with his name was still there. I stared at it. Then I sat on the floor and cried. Grace came that evening. She saw my face and knew. "What happened?" she asked. I told her everything. She hugged me. "Don't give up. We'll find something." Her words helped, but I still felt lost. The next morning, I woke up early. I walked to a school nearby. I saw women cleaning the yard. I asked if they needed help. One woman said, "Talk to the man inside." I met the school manager. He looked at Shawn and said, "He's young." I said, "I'll carry him. I just need work." He gave me 2 hours of cleaning each day. It was little, but it was something. I thanked him again and again. I worked with Shawn on my back. I cleaned classrooms. I swept floors. I wiped windows. Some teachers smiled at me. One teacher, Mrs. Dean, said, "You're brave." I said, "I just love my son." She smiled. One day, she gave me a small bag. "Snacks for Shawn," she said. Inside were crackers and fruit. I almost cried. "Thank you," I said softly. James came less often now. He said work was busy. I didn't mind. Shawn was growing fast. He said mama one day. I cried. That word meant everything. He didn't say dada. I didn't tell him to. I waited. I watched. I followed his heart. One weekend, Grace and I went to the park. The boys played in the grass. We talked about jobs, food, and dreams. I said, "I just want a small home, a place with warm water, a bed for him." Grace said, "You'll have it. You're strong." That night, I looked at Shawn. He was asleep in his box bed. I sat beside him. I whispered, "One day, you'll ask about your father, and I'll tell you, but not today. Today, you are just my baby, and I am your mother." And that is enough. Shawn turned 2. He could walk now. He liked to run in circles. He liked to say car, ball, and mama again and again. He laughed a lot. His favorite game was throwing his toy and running to get it. I watched him and smiled. He gave my life meaning. I still worked at the school, 2 hours each day. It was not much, but it helped. Mrs. Dean sometimes gave us food. She brought bread, fruit, and once, even a warm blanket. I wanted to cry when she handed it to me. I said, "Thank you so much." She smiled and said, "You're doing your best." Grace and I met every week. Liam and Shawn played together. Grace found a part-time job at a kitchen. She gave me some rice one day. "You need this more than I do," she said. I hugged her tight. Her friendship felt like light in dark times. James stopped coming. At first he called. Then he stopped that too. I was not sad. I was not angry. I had seen it coming. Some people walk away twice. But I did not run after him. Shawn was all I needed. I whispered, "We are enough." One day, I saw a notice at the school. It said, "Help needed, cleaning after school hours." I asked the manager. He said, "It's 4 more hours. You want it?" I said yes. My heart jumped. More hours meant more money, more food, better days. I worked 6 hours now. I came in the morning. I cleaned again in the evening. Mrs. Dean watched Shawn during those 2 extra hours. She let him sit in her room. She gave him toys. She even taught him colors. I was so thankful. "He loves her," I told Grace. Money got better. I saved a little each week. I bought Shawn shoes. I bought better food. I bought a small table for our room. It was old, but strong. We sat at it to eat. I told Shawn, "One day, you will do homework here." Then, one day, something big happened. The school said they needed a full-time cleaner. It was a real job, with papers, with monthly pay. I wanted it. I needed it. I went to the manager and said, "Please give me a chance." He said, "You're already doing the work. You'll get it." I walked home that night with tears in my eyes. I looked at the sky. I whispered, "Thank you." I kissed Shawn's cheek. "Good days are coming," I said. With the new job, I moved us to a better room. It was still small, but it had a window. It had a sink inside and a better stove. Shawn had more space to play. I made a bed for him with soft pillows. He touched everything with joy. Our days were full, but warm. I woke up early, made breakfast, packed snacks. I worked. I played with Shawn. I washed clothes. I read small books to him. I sang songs. At night I told him, "I love you more than anything." One afternoon, Mrs. Dean gave me a small book. "This is for Shawn," she said. "He's ready to learn." The book had pictures of animals and letters. I showed it to him. He smiled and pointed. "Dog," he said. "Cow." I laughed. "You're so smart." Time moved fast. Shawn grew taller. His words got clearer. He liked to ask, "Why?" a lot. "Why is the sky blue? Why do we eat soup?" I answered every time, even when I was tired. I loved his questions. They showed me he was growing. One weekend, I took him to the market. He saw a red ball. He looked at me with wide eyes. I had saved a little money. I bought it. He jumped with joy. "Thank you, Mama!" he shouted. That moment was gold to me. People in the school started knowing him. They said, "He's polite," or "He's happy." I said, "Yes, he is." But only I knew the full story. Only I knew the cold nights, the hungry days, the long walks, the broken heart, and the deep love that made this life. One rainy night, Shawn said, "Mama, will I go to school too?" I smiled. "Yes, baby. One day soon." He said, "Like the big kids?" I said yes. His eyes were full of light. That night, I looked at the paper with his name on the wall. I had written it years ago. It was old now, but I left it there. I wanted to remember. Not all stories end with love. Not all stories end with someone coming back. Mine didn't. But I didn't need that. I didn't need James. I didn't need anyone else to complete my life. I had Shawn. I had strength. And that was enough. I hope you have enjoyed the story. Like and comment if you want to hear more soon.